Tonight, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most enigmatic figures in modern music, a man who became a global household name at 17, only to vanish into the shadows when the pressure became too much to bear. We all remember the moment Antoine walked onto that stage in 2012, looking like a deer in the headlights, before unleashing a voice that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But while the cameras were rolling and the judges were weeping, a much darker story was unfolding behind the scenes, one involving industry manipulation, a crushing mental health crisis, and a hidden neurological reality that Jonathan himself didn't even understand at the time. Today, the shy boy image has been completely dismantled, replaced by a man who says he has finally found his soul. But to understand this brave new chapter, we have to look at the wreckage he had to climb out of first, because the truth about his sudden disappearance from the mainstream spotlight is far more controversial than the headlines suggested. For years, the public believed Jonathan's departure from the major label circuit was a mutual agreement, but insiders suggest a much more turbulent reality behind closed doors. When you are a product of a reality TV machine, you aren't just an artist, you are a commodity with an expiration date. Our investigation into the post-show years reveals a young man who felt increasingly like a puppet in a high-stakes game of corporate greed. The labels wanted the safe version of Jonathan, the one who sang the classics and stayed in his lane. But as the teenage prodigy grew into a man, he began to push back against the rigid branding that felt like a straitjacket. The tension reached a boiling point when he realized that his creative freedom was being traded for commercial viability. Rumors surfaced of intense disagreements regarding his image and musical direction, leading to a split that many thought would end his career forever. He was essentially walking away from a guaranteed fortune, a move that left the industry stunned and many wondering if he had simply cracked under the weight of expectation. But as it turns out, this wasn't a breakdown. It was the first step of a calculated escape from a system that was never designed to protect him. While the world saw a rising star, Jonathan was actually trapped in a profound personal darkness that nearly led to a tragic, permanent conclusion. It's a topic often whispered about in the music world, but rarely addressed with this much transparency. During the heights of his early fame, the singer was battling a level of depression so severe that he struggled to find a reason to continue his journey. He has since been open about the fact that he nearly offed himself during those peak years, a revelation that sent shockwaves through his fanbase. The industry's grin and bear it culture meant he had to hide his social anxiety and paralyzing fear of the public eye while performing for thousands. This wasn't just stage fright. It was a systemic collapse of his mental well-being. Accusations later surfaced from fans and advocates that the talent show format failed to provide the necessary psychological support for a teenager thrust into the global meat grinder. Every time he stepped onto a red carpet, he was wearing a mask that was becoming heavier by the second. The internal conflict was so intense that he began to associate his own gift, that incredible voice, with the pain of his public persona. He was a prisoner of his own talent, and the only way out was to burn the old version of himself to the ground. The most shocking development in this story didn't happen on a stage, but in a doctor's office, where a single word changed the trajectory of Jonathan's life forever: autism. For over 20 years, Jonathan had navigated a world that felt too loud, too bright, and too fast, never understanding why he felt so alienated from his peers. This wasn't a medical setback, as some tabloids tried to frame it. It was the ultimate code break for his entire life. Suddenly, the difficult behavior the labels complained about and the eccentricities the media mocked were revealed to be symptoms of a neurodivergent mind trying to survive in a neurotypical world. This revelation allowed him to recontextualize every trauma he faced on Britain's Got Talent. He realized he wasn't weird or broken. He was simply processing the world through a different lens. This diagnosis was the key that unlocked his self-compassion. He stopped trying to fix himself to fit the industry's mold and started building a world that accommodated his needs. It was a radical act of self-acceptance that completely changed how he approached his career, his fans, and his future. The brave new chapter he speaks of isn't just about music, it's about the freedom of finally knowing who he actually is. When Jonathan reappeared on social media recently, his physical transformation was so radical that many followers literally did not recognize the man staring back at them. We're talking about a change so profound it sparked endless speculation about how and why it happened. For Jonathan, the weight loss wasn't about vanity or fitting into a pop star aesthetic. It was a physical manifestation of his mental liberation. He has spoken about how his previous size was a shield, a way to disappear while being in plain sight. By taking control of his health, he was essentially taking back the steering wheel of his life. But this change brought its own set of controversies, with some critics suggesting he was succumbing to the very industry pressures he claimed to despise. However, those closest to him say the opposite is true. This was a man who decided he wanted to live, truly live, for the first time. The discipline required for this transformation mirrored the discipline he was applying to his vocal training and his business ventures. He wasn't just shedding pounds. He was shedding the expectations of everyone who thought they knew what he should look like. This new Jonathan is lean, focused, and possesses a vocal clarity that experts say is actually enhanced by his physical health. The final move in Jonathan's master plan was perhaps the most exposed risk of all, declaring total independence from the gatekeepers of the music industry. In an era where most artists are desperate for a record deal, Jonathan did the unthinkable and went entirely rogue. He realized that with the power of the internet and a loyal, cult-like following, he didn't need a CEO to tell him when to sing or what to wear. He began funding his own albums, directing his own creative vision, and speaking directly to his audience without a PR filter. This move into YouTube automation and digital-first branding has allowed him to amass a fortune and a level of creative control that his former label mates can only dream of. He is no longer the kid from the talent show. He is a CEO, a producer, and a pioneer of the independent classical crossover movement. This brave new chapter is a blueprint for how modern artists can survive after the shocking reality of fame fades. He has turned his challenges into his greatest strengths, proving that the most powerful thing an artist can be is themselves. Jonathan Antoine didn't just survive the machine, he outgrew it. As we look at the man Jonathan has become, we are forced to ask ourselves, how many other prodigies are currently trapped in the same system he escaped? His story isn't just about a singer with a once-in-a-generation voice. It's a cautionary tale about the cost of fame and the incredible power of self-discovery. Jonathan Antoine had to lose his career, his health, and his identity to finally find a version of himself that was worth keeping. He has moved beyond the rumors and the controversy to reach a place of genuine peace. Today, when he sings, it's not because a contract demands it, but because his soul requires it. And for the millions of people who have followed his journey from that first nervous audition to this triumphant new era, the message is clear. The most shocking thing you can do in this world is to finally, truly understand yourself.